Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. I think as Dat said, all right. It's very, very fun to be here for me because I joined Cursor about a year ago, and prior to that was at Arize. And so this is technically my third Observe now, which is kind of fun. So it is very fun to be here in a new capacity and be joined by all of you. So for today, what I'm going to go through here is a bit of how we use Cursor at Cursor. I think this is a little bit of a more generally applicable piece as well, too. I'm going to talk about kind of the general approaches that we use towards maximizing the efficacy of agents, skills, the evals that we run internally within the company, and hopefully give you guys some pretty practical things to take away from here. So with that, let's dive into it. Oh, one last thing I'll mention, too, is just for my own capacity, my day-to-day is working with our field engineering teams, which is partnering with our different customers who are implementing Cursor and using it. For today, we're going to go less into how our customers are using it and more of how Cursor is using Cursor internally, because we tend to see ourselves as pushing the boundaries of that, and then that paves the way for others to follow along. So this is going to be a lot based on our own internal engineering teams and how they use it. So a little bit of level setting here to start. I think one of the ways that we look at how the space has moved when we look at AI coding in general over the past few years is starting in this tab world of autocomplete, moving more into an agents world where you're sitting working with different agents, whether that's agents you built yourself or coding agents as well. And then nowadays, we're starting to see the beginnings of the shift into this system of different agents, building your own agents, connecting them to work together in different ways, having automatic agents that will jump in and tackle different areas. And as you enter into that, evals become also more and more important as you're building your own systems that are going to be run through here. And so we kind of see this space as right between those two, that second and third stage right now. I think we see a lot of companies and a lot of teams that are using agents, but at the same time, we don't necessarily see that many that are building their own systems on top of these and those pieces there. So we're starting to see more and more of that over the past few months. And so as we move towards that world where people are using more and more of these tools, there's a set of challenges that do kind of emerge from that, which has informed a lot of how we see the space evolving. One of the big ones here is as you look at the code that is generated by these tools, it is increasing the prevalence of AI-generated code. This is from a developer preferences report that we did a few months ago, but we've seen a huge spike in the number and percent of codes that are generated by it, percent of lines of code that are generated by AI. The other piece here is when we look at our own internal usage of these tools, we are at this point, I think this number is quite a bit higher than 30%, but a lot of the code that makes its way into the Cursor product is generated by asynchronous agents that are working in the background, unsupervised on their own. And so in order for that to work effectively, we need to have the right kinds of checks, evals, measurements in place to make sure that those agents are generating the right kind of code that is effective from there. One little fun fact that I'll say is that the artifacts piece that you see here in the note, this was a sort of turning point for us where we started adding a capability for these agents to report back with a video of the changes that they made. So if we gave the agent a task to add a new button into the UI, it would go add that, and then it would report back to us with a video of what that button looked like from its own testing there. So I'm going to talk a bunch more about methods we use for evals and verification, but I think this is one of the turning points for us was adding a bit more of an opportunity to do like human eval before you even get into reviewing code that's generated by one of these systems. One of the other changes that we're seeing is that more and more of these changes, again, are being accepted without a very deep human review. It's a little bit more of kind of the general, let the agents review these systems. And so as part of that, as you can imagine, a lot of it involves creating agent review systems that can be effective in their review of code as well. And so with all this, I think one of the big trends that we've been seeing in the coding world, at least, is as you have agents that can streamline the writing and reviewing of code, it means a lot more time from the human end is spent on the planning of what the changes might be in the SDLC, as well as the sort of testing and deployment of those changes. And that's where we're focusing a lot of our own efforts now is how do we add some more automated systems to review that testing and deployment, react to the changes that come from that as well too. And how do we build a system that can improve its own changes over time? Cool. And so if we look internally at what our SDLC actually looks like these days, it has turned into more of a 4-step process as opposed to a 5 or 6 or 7-step process where we have agents that are planning, humans are coming in and reviewing those steps, and then from there, building those different plans out and kind of coming back with the demos that I mentioned earlier, and then shipping those changes. And we do a bit more of a continuous retro throughout that process of how we can improve things from there. And the reason I mention all this as well too is just at every part of this process, there is some specialized agent that we've built that allows for it to move through that process quickly. And so what we're going to talk about in a second here is how do we set up the right system to be able to have those agents work effectively as well too there, because we basically built a bunch of custom agents with a bunch of custom evaluations around them. How do we do that effectively? So in our day-to-day work, what this looks like these days is we have humans who are reviewing the outputs of these systems, giving feedback back to this agent system or this system of agents that we created that then is all built on a baseline intelligence layer below, which is your models, whatever model you might be using, Anthropic, OpenAI, Gemini, Cursor's own models. There's a baseline intelligence layer that is almost agnostic towards the system is how we look at that as well too. And so the quote that this is sort of based on here is from an Abraham Lincoln quote of, if you have 6 hours to chop down a tree, spend your first 4 sharpening the axe. In this case, what that means is building the system that allows us to have these agents functioning properly within our code base. If you look at where our engineering teams spend time today, it is very much focused around improving this system, whether that is verification systems, skills, whatever we need to make it work more autonomously on its own. When the axe is dull, what that means is that agents are forgetting things. They might get a smaller scopes task. They are unsure of their own capabilities, and they may try their best, but just basically not get you to the output that you want. And one of the biggest, most relevant pieces here is that they're going to be struggling to verify their own changes as they go. I always hesitate to put up the words agent maxing on a slide here because I recognize that not every team in the world is like, let's throw everything into these agents and let's go and use as many tokens as we possibly can. What I will just level set and say is that, again, using Cursor as our example in this case, we as a team use quite a few tokens. That is kind of what we're designed to do. So I'm going to give you guys this idea in the sense of agent maxing, but at the same time, recognize that this may not be applicable to every team for cost purposes as well too. So think of this as the extreme end of the spectrum. And so the two things that we're going to dive into is how do we provide the systems with the right context and the right information? And then how do we provide them with the right tools for verifying and evaluating their results? From the context side, a lot of this for us is a metric of skills, or is a function of skills that we can define, metrics that we can use for hill climbing and other kinds of techniques there, and then having the right kinds of observability that we then build into specific use cases from there. Starting with the skills piece, this is really where we spend a lot of our time, even as it relates to evaluating and verifying the results. And so with skills, there's a whole bunch of them that we will actually use in this case. This is where a lot of our team spends a lot of their time today. I think I'll highlight a few, but just to give you an idea, we have a monorepo style structure. We have about, most of our product sits within a monorepo, and we have about 150 skills that are part of that. When we look at the performance of our agent factory, one of the things that we're looking at is, can we reduce the number of skills? Can we streamline those? Can we set this up in a way that prunes out the unnecessary information? So a lot of our focus becomes on changing this knowledge base that we have to be more aligned to a proper result. The example we have up on the screen is one of my favorite skills. This is the how skill that we have. There's some very basic ones that we incorporate in there. This basically tells an agent how to find the end result or how to find the answer, how something works. There's also a why skill, which will search through all of our Slack and Notion and lots of other conversations there through our Git history to find out why a decision was made in the code base and what was all the relevant information around that. A big piece of this I mentioned is that we will try to improve those skills over time. We'll try to reflect back on those and improve those. And whether that is actually having the agent read through those skills and understand them, whether that is looking for duplicates or things that we can prune or modify from there. The other big piece is as the skills become more canonical, these become what we would call more automations. So we can have them responding to certain triggers in here as well too. So to give you a great example of this, if we have an agent that we're using in our platform, say we have an agent that sits within our documentation to act as a help system for us. If that agent comes back with a result that fails an eval, for example, then that's something where we can respond to a trigger from Arize or from Phoenix to be able to basically respond into the platform, trigger this diagnosis skill that we have to figure out what might be going wrong based on some of that logging information. And so with this, you see that this becomes something that just gets baked into our daily way of working. We hit an issue that we run into, we trigger one of those skills to be able to tackle that and address that issue as quickly as possible. Cool. So these become these event-triggered agents that we run through. I'll just put this up as a very brief kind of thing here. I'm happy to show people more what this looks like. I want to keep this a little bit more of like a general, broadly applicable concept, but automations in our case is basically a setup for these agents to respond to certain triggers, whether they come from Arize, Phoenix, other tools as well to be able to launch into that. One of the other big changes that has come from this as well is that we will start to basically have Slack channels that entirely manage certain products or projects for us. So whether that is actually like our build process, which is what we're seeing in here as well too, is we continually update and optimize our build process, but it's entirely run basically out of Slack for us at this point. We're just responding to those different messages to trigger out those different pieces from there. And then one of the ones I want to talk about here as well is how we then use this for more continual improvement and hill climbing over time. Again, taking that build example here, this is somewhere where we can basically give the agent an end goal that we want to work towards. We provide it with the right context to be able to feed that in, and then let it run for, in our case, hours or days at a time. I think the longest we've had one of these running has been about 5 days so far. There are some cases where we've had projects that have gone longer, but there's essentially a couple people within our org that are continually maintaining these long-running hill climbing agents that are based on these different product signals from different platforms to try to improve things like our build time, our response success rate, or anything else like that. One example of how we use this is my one customer example in here, but we worked with NVIDIA to help them speed up their kernel or improve their kernel code within a new GPU that they were using. And we're able to have this run. This was the 5 or 6 day example that I mentioned before. Cool. And then the second piece of this to move towards here is more of the verification of how do we give the agent the right tools to be able to test that what it's done has been successful and given us the result that we want. A big piece of this is just your basic CI/CD, clean code test that you have there. Big other piece of this is how do we give the agents their own local environments that they can work in so they can record these demos as opposed to just these basic code diffs that we get back. And then the final piece is more running code review and how do we optimize the different code review tools that we have in place. So I mentioned the CI/CD piece is one of these. I think how we practically use this is about, at this point, maybe 30 or 40% of PRs within our ecosystem don't get a human review before they merge. It is built on some of these systems that we have in place to do either PR review, security review, different checks there. And each of those, again, is an agent that we've built and evaled over time across large data sets that we have. I mentioned the risk scoring as part of this as well too. With the risk scoring, the idea here is that if something's a low risk PR, it's not going to have a large blast radius. We get that automatically approved, and if not, then we tag in the appropriate person. For more of the dev environment side of things, this is where we give agents their own ability to work in a specific machine that matches identically what a developer would have and what they'd work with from there. And so we want to get that as close as possible to what a developer environment would look like. That means any kind of like local DevX that we have set up, we pre-configure that in different machines that these agents can work in, so then they can build on top of that and they can act like a typical developer would in that case. And so that can be everything from, like, you see Spotify poking out in the background here. We actually had one case where an agent downloaded and loaded Spotify. I can tell the story around that maybe separately from this, but we basically had a skill that tried to get the agent to act as close as possible to one of our devs, and that ended up with it downloading some applications the dev tended to use, like Spotify, which was an entertaining one. But so we try to get the environments as close as possible to where the developers themselves would work to be able to give back demos as opposed to just kind of code diffs here. So this is our extreme end of verification, where we can have it actually test out its changes through some sort of computer use style approach, which then gives us an artifact at the end. This is a real example video of when we added something very basic, which was just pinning chats within the web UI. This is something we did in the background with an agent that worked on its own, came back to us with the video, and then we used that for verification. In some cases, this also creates some very interesting data sets that we can use as well too to continue improving the agents over time. Then the final piece of this is, as we are doing some amount of code review, this is where we can basically have the agent that we have built that focuses towards code review, improving and learning from the feedback that we give it. This is another example of how we continue to build on that over time. And so we take our BugBot, which is our PR review agent, and incorporate reactions, replies, PR comments, all those different things into its own learned rules. So if there's ever a review that requires a human to step in and say, this is something that you missed, that always gets incorporated for the future reviews. All right. And so just to go through a little bit of more of the real life examples of where we see this cropping up, I think I'm going to clock through a few more that we want to tackle here just to give you an idea of how we see this playing out in practice. One of them would be using this more security-focused review to be able to tackle these different security issues that are raised by certain PDRs, as well as doing a regular security scan every day of the code base. And as we've done this, I don't know what this says, and I always get nervous putting this one up, but we've drastically increased the number of vulnerabilities that we're finding when we add these pieces in, because we now have agents running a lot of that security review process. Those agents themselves are entirely built on basically the left half of this graph that you see of our own human security review throughout. I mentioned the risk scoring. We don't need to talk about that one necessarily again. And then one of the other pieces here is going to be detecting and fixing CI failures that crop up. So as we have any kind of CI issues within our process, detecting those, immediately addressing those, following on from there to tackle those pieces to create what we think of as a self-driving PR or something like that that's continually keeping itself up to date. Along with that, as there are code review issues that are found, having those get automatically fixed within the platform using agents for that piece as well too. And then test coverage automation. So basically taking all of the things that seem like more of the drudgery work of keeping tests up to date, security reviews, dependency bumping, all of those things, and looking for opportunities to automate them to create more of the self-driving code base here. Continuously testing our docs falls into a piece of that as well, regularly making sure that those are operating properly. This is where the artifacts and the demo recordings come into play as well too. Finally, doing any kind of security reviews, or not really security reviews, excuse me, but more vulnerabilities and confirming those exploits and those vulnerabilities, and how do we improve those and address those pieces. So with all that, I think I go through all those examples more to give people's minds a place to get started here of thinking how we could look to start automating those different areas. Within each of those, we have built our own agents that are going to basically get very, very good at that specific piece, and incorporating signals that we see from the field and from continual usage to continually improve those systems through the verification tools and evals that are built on top of that. If anyone wants to give themselves a diagnosis of where a code base is at, you have to forgive the agent maxing one more time here, but this is a predefined prompt that's basically going to do a status check of a code base and tell you any areas that you can look to automate or improve or work through from there to get closer towards that full factory approach. And then one last thing that I want to mention here, just because this is very fun and just released, but we did just release a profile system within Cursor. And I mainly bring this up just because this is the time where if you wanted to claim your own first name, for example, this is the time where this is available. So if you want to get a handle here, this literally came out like 5 minutes ago. So I wanted to pull it up on here in case so you didn't miss this case here.